My parents abandoned me when I was 4. Now they want me back. I didn't even know I was abandoned at first. That's the part that gets me the most when I look back on it. I was 4 years old. I didn't have the vocabulary for what was happening. All I knew was that my aunt and uncle's house smelled like coffee and laundry detergent. They had a dog named Biscuit, and I got to sleep in a room with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. I thought it was a sleepover. A week passed, then another. My aunt enrolled me in preschool. My uncle packed me lunch every morning. Always a juice box, always those little crackers with the peanut butter. I stopped asking when my parents were coming. At some point, I just stopped. My little sister had been born sick. Really sick. The doctors told my parents she might not make it past 2. They were completely consumed by that. And somewhere in the middle of the chaos of keeping her alive, they looked at me. The healthy one, the easy one, the one who wasn't hooked up to monitors, and decided I was the one they could afford to lose. So they drove me to my aunt and uncle's house one afternoon and never came back. I found all of this out when I was 10. My aunt sat me down at the kitchen table with hot chocolate, the kind with little marshmallows, and told me everything. She was calm about it, gentle, like she'd been rehearsing it for years, which she probably had. I remember the hot chocolate going cold while she talked. I never touched it. When she finished, I didn't cry. I walked to my room, took out the one photo I had of my biological parents, and tore it into pieces so small they looked like confetti. Then I made myself a promise. Done. That chapter was closed, and I was the one holding the pen from now on. That same year, I started calling my aunt and uncle Mom and Dad. They didn't make a big deal out of it. My uncle just looked up from the newspaper the first time I said it, nodded once like it was the most natural thing in the world, and went back to reading. That was the moment I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The years went on. I saw my biological parents a handful of times, a grocery store parking lot, a distant relative's wedding. I never spoke to them. A wave here. You look so grown up there. I just look through them like they were windows and keep walking. It wasn't even dramatic. It was just nothing. They were nothing to me by then. My sister hit 15, then 16. Every birthday was apparently a milestone my biological parents had been terrified she'd never reach. I didn't know any of that. I was over here living my actual life, doing homework at the kitchen table while my dad burned dinner and my mom laughed at him for it. Normal stuff. Real stuff. Then last week they showed up. I came downstairs to find my biological parents standing on the porch holding a gift bag, pink tissue paper and everything, with my sister standing behind them looking like she wanted to disappear into the floorboards. From the way my biological mother was smiling, like this was some kind of reunion special, it was clear they thought the hard part was finally over and it was time to collect what they'd left behind. My biological father did most of the talking, said they'd been through so much as a family, that my sister was doing well now, that it felt like the right time to reconnect. He used words like healing and whole again. He was smiling the whole time, the kind of smile that expects to be smiled back at. Then he said it. We think it's time you came home. I looked at him for a long moment, then I said, I am home. The smile dropped. He tried a different angle, said I was being emotional, that I needed to think about what it would mean for our family to be whole again. I told him our family was whole. It had been whole for years. He just wasn't in it. Then he raised his voice, said I was being disrespectful, that he was still my father, and I owed him the decency of a real conversation. I didn't raise my voice back. I didn't need to. I told him he made his choice 13 years ago when he left a 4-year-old at someone else's house and never looked back, that I made mine the night I found out, and that some choices you don't get to unmake just because they stopped being convenient. My biological mother was crying by then, kept saying she was sorry, that she hadn't known what else to do, that it was the hardest decision of her life. I believe her actually. I think it probably was hard, but it was hard isn't the same as it was right, and I'm sorry doesn't rebuild 13 years of nothing. They left. My sister looked back at me once before she followed them down the driveway. I don't know what she was thinking. I hope she's okay. None of this is her fault. I walked back inside and sat down at the dinner table. My mom came in from the kitchen and just looked at me and asked if I was okay. I said, yeah, can you pass the bread? She laughed, handed it over. My dad came in a minute later and we all just sat there eating dinner like it was any other night, because it was. That's the thing they'll never understand. For them, last week was some kind of turning point, a big emotional moment they'd been building toward for years. For me, it was a Tuesday.